Well, good morning, and Dan, thanks for that introduction. I also want to give acknowledgement and recognition to Kirby and the Garfield County Commissioners, Colorado Mesa University, other sponsors for continuing to keep this symposium going forward. It's a great event. I'm glad to be back. Again, I've been here a few times in my current capacity as Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. And all of you that I see, the familiar faces, those of you that are new, I'm going to share some perspectives about the Department of Local Affairs and our role with the Energy Impact Assistance Program, which is the severance revenue that Dan touched on a bit in his presentation, that the state collects and puts back into local communities, counties, municipalities, and projects around the state. So I'm going to try to move through this fairly quickly. I do have a time constraint, so glad to be with you this morning. Let's begin with a quick overview of the Department of Local Affairs. We do more than just energy impact. We actually, as Dan indicated, we have the Division of Housing, we have the Division of Property Taxation, we have the Board of Adjustment Appeals. We also deal with disaster recovery dollars when that occurs, as well as the Local Government Division. And that's the division primarily responsible for dealing with the severance revenue and pushing out the Energy Impact Assistance Program, which I'm going to touch on shortly. A little bit about the activities of DOLA, just kind of setting the pace here. DOLA is a small department. I like to say we're small but mighty, but we have a tremendous amount of new initiatives that have been put on our plate directly by the legislature to support new programs. Most of this came in the form of economic stimulus, recovery relief from the pandemic. We have 20 new programs on top of the energy assistance program that we've been responsible for. Just to touch on a few of those, the Proposition 123 initiative, which is an affordable housing initiative passed by the voters in November. Part of the program designed to that is on the DOLA plate through our Division of Housing. The other is being done by another sister department, but we're working together. So we have a tremendous amount of new programs on our plate. We've expanded some of our criminal justice programs to the town of, or the city of Grand Junction, down in Los Animas County and Trinidad. That's been another example of some of the programs that we've been responsible for. House Bill 1304, which was an affordable housing transformation initiative, was brought to us. We have a piece of that in the form of something called Strong Communities. So we're adding folks, term employees, but we're growing and we're doing a lot around the state to support the growth and the strength of local governments. So let me move on here to a little bit about the putting the severance tax to work in your communities. One of the big initiatives here is the work that we do, as I mentioned, in the Energy Mineral Impact Assistance Program. This bill that guides the work that we do in putting these dollars back into communities was enacted in 1977, so it's been around for a while. Primarily for the new folks in the room, this is intended for revenue that's generated from non-renewable impacts, severance impacts, minerals, extraction from the earth here in Colorado. We have a responsibility at DOLA to put those to work for public purposes. They're made available to offset the impact of non-renewable extraction throughout the state. I'm going to share a little bit later on some of the examples of how we're putting those dollars to use. As Dan probably indicated, I'd stepped out for a moment. The severance revenue that comes to the state of Colorado is broken into two pieces. 50% flows to the Department of Natural Resources, and the other 50% to DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs. And in our 50%, we break it into two categories. A direct distribution goes out directly through a formula, a plan to local governments as 30%, and 70%, which is the largest portion, is actually retained in the form of discretionary grants that we make available in the form of energy assistance programs. So a little bit about what's been happening of late. This is always an interesting graph to monitor. I think most of you probably are interested. The severance tax revenue certainly has been on a roller coaster. No question about that. You know the reasons why. There actually may be someone on your program today or tomorrow who will talk about the reasons for that. But the flow of severance to DOLA has been up and down. That's the blue line. We had a rough couple years, primarily due to the pandemic. Some other reasons like the ad valorem tax offset really put us into a negative position. But nevertheless, we're back on the upswing. As you can see, we have that blue line coming up is giving an indication of where we're going in the next few years. And the Office of State Planning and Budget does make projections for us that we use, and it does look like we'll probably be stabilizing, but probably seeing somewhat of a decline in the severance revenue over the course of the next few years. And the federal mineral lease revenue, that's the red line, that's fairly stable, but it's not a big portion of the revenue. We do mix those two pools of dollars into our energy impact program as we make that available for communities that are eligible around the state. So a little bit more about the energy impact dollar programs. The red line is probably what I want you to pay attention to, because that's what gets redistributed out to your communities in the form of grants. And as you can see, when revenue's high, we give more awards out. When revenue's not so high, there's less awards being made. But our projections in the course of the next 3 years, and that's kind of the shaded red line, as you can see, the tall bar is giving indication that we're going to have a pretty productive next couple years. In fact, our current round of applications that most of you probably are aware of has already been oversubscribed. Lots of folks within the small communities and towns here in western Colorado are interested in making an application for capital projects to offset some of the energy impacts occurring in their communities. In fact, because of that revenue increase, we typically in the last few years have run 2 rounds of $25 million programs. We're able to add a third, a $25 million round this year, and that's good news. So that is going to be an opportunity as a result of that revenue increase. This slide gives you some indication of the distributions of both the discretionary grants, the direct distributions, as well as the school district distributions, which are required in statute. The number of recipients are in the first category. Those are actual local governments that have received those awards, and then the dollar amounts that accompany that over the course of the recent fiscal year 22. So we've done that most recently. This next slide is probably the one that most folks are interested in. This is where the actual awards are going and have been distributed around the state. The blue color, the darker the blue, the more resources have been put into those counties. So every county has received some form of either direct distribution of FML or severance revenue, or through a capital grant program. Again, the darker blue are the ones that receive the majority of the awards. And then as the color lightens up, as the second, third highest. So we've done a good job in distributing these dollars collectively around the state. Obviously, the counties like Weld and Rio Blanco here in Garfield, the darkest blue, is where most of the production is taking place, most of the revenue is being generated. We pay attention to putting those dollars back into these communities based on the applications that come forward from local communities as well as counties. So we work in the form of a Energy Mineral Impact Assistance Fund Committee, Advisory Committee. Some of you in the room might have sat on this over the years, but currently this is the membership of our advisory committee. They're appointed by the governor per statute. We do have county commissioners. In fact, we have Tim Redmond from Routt County is one of our current advisory board members. Also, Tony Haas, commissioner from Los Animas County, is one of our current commissioners. Barbara Bynum from the city of Montrose, as well as many other individuals that have an interest in the extraction industry and how energy is either impacting favorably or maybe not so favorably of their local communities. I'll just mention that there are 2 seats that will expire at the end of this year. So we'll be looking to fill two additional seats that will be vacated by members throughout the community. So if you're interested in that, you can talk to me or talk to your regional manager out here. It was Dana Havlick, who's based in Grand Junction. He's our local government regional manager. He's your point of contact. The other work that DOLA is involved with on a direct basis, not just distributing these dollars and evaluating applications that come forward from local towns and cities and counties, but we also have a role in a variety of other areas. We have participated fully in the severance tax work group. This is a group of other multi-agencies and state government that are looking at ways to ensure that we can somehow be more responsive to the variability of the severance revenue. Department of Revenue, some of these other agencies that are directly involved. We sit at the table, we advise, we are consulted, and we try to make a difference in how those dollars actually flow into the state and how they can be more effectively deployed. We also have a seat within the Office of Just Transition Advisory Committee. In fact, I know Ray Beck was recognized a bit earlier. Ray sat as one of the co-chairs the first couple years of the Just Transition Advisory Committee and did a great job. So I wanted to acknowledge Ray for that work. But the Just Transition work continues. And that, for those of you who are wondering what that's about, it's about the assistance of what the state can do. And DOLA has a seat at the table, as I indicated, along with the Department of Labor and Employment. The impacts that closures of coal-fired plants are going to have in our state to those local jurisdictions, their tax base, their employment base, school district, lost revenue. Those kinds of issues are on the table and being addressed. In fact, they've received several dollars through the stimulus process and general fund appropriations over the last few years, and those dollars are now being directly placed into projects to help those communities make that transition. So that's some of the work that we also are involved with as the department goes forward in our energy impact work. So now let me just share, well again, this is one of the initiatives before I get into some of the particular examples of where some of our dollars, your dollars, have been placed in projects, particularly here in Western Colorado. But this gives an indication of one of our renewable energy initiatives, which we launched back in, I think it was 2019. It was about a $12 million appropriation, not appropriation, but a set aside within the overall program that we wanted to support clean energy initiatives by local governments. So we awarded 24 awards that first year. That process has been ongoing for an additional 26 awards that have been made to the tune of another $10 million. And then House Bill 21-1253, which was a stimulus funding bill made during the pandemic period, also brought in another $5 million of awards that we've also have made for a total of 55 awards being made to the tune of $27 million in renewable energy, clean energy initiatives made available to local towns and cities. Some of those examples include Snowmass, the photovoltaic and micro hydro project. The town of Snowmass was awarded $200,000 for the installation of photovoltaic arrays of town arrays at the town facility to offset their electricity costs. Also, Basalt and Roaring Fork School District won an energy performance contract. That community was awarded a little more than $500,000 for the installation of a photovoltaic system at the high school, elementary school, and town public works building to save an estimated of over $37,000 per year in utility cost. Also over in Craig, the Craig Regional Solar Utility Development, a very creative project. The city of Craig was awarded over $2 million to develop a community solar garden through a power purchase agreement with 6 jurisdictions to support the Yampa Valley. So that gives you an example. The other work that we've done on the set aside from the Energy Impact Program is in the broadband world, providing broadband assistance to local communities to create their middle mile. I think most of you probably know what that is. Just give you an example, Garfield County was awarded $1.7 million to build a lateral fiber line along the I-70 corridor to carrier-neutral locations to support communities here in Newcastle, Silt, and Parachute. This project will complete a middle mile for each town in the county that ties into the Region 10 fiber along the I-70 corridor. Also, Colburn and the Plateau Mountain Middle Mile, the town of Colburn was awarded over $500,000 in the broadband program to bridge 21 miles of gap between the I-70 fiber line and DeBeck and a carrier-neutral location to that community. Palisade has also benefited from a middle mile program, as well as the town of Fruita. So we put these dollars to use in very creative ways, usually based on the needs of these local communities. So we're not doing this in a vacuum. We're actually working with the town professionals and the other local leaders to put these dollars back to work in these communities. So let me, I'm getting close here to wrap up. Let me just share with you a few of the unique project highlights from some of the other Energy Impact Award programs that we've made over time. The Yampa Valley Housing Authority, the Brown Ranch Project. I don't know if anyone here is from Routt County, but a very creative project to address affordable housing in Routt County in the town of Steamboats. We put a $750,000 award to assist with infrastructure design and construction. This is going to be a 480 housing units near Steamboat and include a commercial core, a transit center, parks and open space utilities. It's a great project. It's probably going to be done over the next few years, but we've been on the front end of helping that community with some energy impact dollars. Also, the Delta Community Safety Center, a $500,000 award to repurpose the Delta National Guard Armory building in Delta as part of their community safety center. Also over in Montrose, the West End School District Infant and Toddler Center, a $750,000 award to construct an infant and toddler care center as part of the new pre through K-12 school facility to meet the increased demand that is occurring for child care in that transition economy. Rifle-controlled intersection project, $500,000 for design and construction for safety and pedestrian improvements, just down the road. In fact, I spent the night in Rifle last night. I thought maybe I was at a major intersection getting out of town this morning, like I would have been in the Front Range. Lots of traffic, so we're putting these kinds of resources into communities to make a difference in the lives of many other individuals. And just a few other projects here in Garfield County, Road 215, the reconstruction of Phase 2, as well as the Roaring Fork Transportation Authority Transit Center, which is a $250,000 award to place, this is a 10-phase build-out for the RAFTA maintenance facility to support long-term transit demands to operate sophisticated zero-emission fleet. So just a range of very, very creative programs that we're interested in supporting because the communities are interested in bringing those projects forward, and we're happy to be part of making some of these projects happen. So with that, I say thank you, and thank you all for your support of DOLA over the years. And the work we do for all of you in the Energy Mineral Impact Assistance Program. With that, I think I have time to take a couple questions.
Yes, thank you. My name is Will Fleckenstein from the Colorado School of Mines, and we're developing some geothermal technology. And I was wondering, would we be able to apply for funds like this for some assistance for some demonstration projects in the state of Colorado, or how would that work?
Yeah, geothermal is a big agenda item in our renewable workspace in the state, and I know our energy office has played a vital role in some of the work there, and I think they have an application process as well. I think fundamentally your question, the answer is yes. I think we could play a role in ideally maybe working with a local government. By the way, if I wasn't clear about this, these awards go to local governments. So if you wanted to collaborate with a local government, City of Golden or Jefferson County or out here, if you wanted to do that, that would be the opportunity to establish some kind of demonstration support. But I think we certainly could look at that. You work through your regional manager in that part of the state to make these applications.
Heidi Gill, Urban Solution Group. I'm just wondering, how do you guys allocate resources to communities, and do you guys track based on if a community has a particular passion towards an energy source? How do you guys allocate those based on the energy source they want to promote inside their communities? Or not promote, I guess.
Great, thank you for that question. There's two methods. I mentioned the formula, that's the mineral, federal mineral lease, that's by direct distribution. And the formula includes energy employment, energy production, in that area, and there's a formula that establishes what that dollar amount should be, and that we just send a direct check to those jurisdictions. On the discretionary grant program, there's a scoring method, fairly similar, but energy impact scores, how much of the energy production is occurring in that area, what's the employment. We have some other general criteria, socially disadvantaged or economically disadvantaged areas, unemployment. Some of those factors are all taken into consideration based on a specific application. So that's discretionary. The awards we provide up to, I think we reduced this recently because of the shortage of funds, but we have awarded up to $1 million on we call Tier 2 awards, but that has to be at least 50% matched. And then we have a Tier 1 category that is a lower amount. I think it's up to $250,000. So again, that has to be locally matched. So we do participate with other funding sources to make these applications a whole.
When will severance taxes include renewable energy? Do you foresee that in the near future?
Commissioner Sane, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's right. Nice to see you from Weld County. That question comes up periodically. In the course of the last couple of years, there's probably been less discussion about that, but I do think it's always something that is on the forefront. As you know, the governor has his policy objectives for complete electrification in our renewable sources for energy consumption by 2040. I think that's a conversation that will continue to be on the forefront, but I really can't predict if that's something that's going to happen during my time serving in this position. So I appreciate the question, Commissioner. Thank you. So with that, let me conclude. Again, thank you all. Thanks for being here. Again, to the sponsors. It's a great symposium, and I'm glad you continue to do this each year. Thank you again.